this morning's wellness tour. Our guest for this morning, I'd like to read her credentials first. She is our Senior Director for Worldwide Nutrition Education and Training. She's one of the chair for she's the chair for our Herbalife Nutrition Dietetic Advisory Board. She is a registered dietitian, graduated with bachelor's degree in biology in University of Colorado. She has a master's degree for food science and nutrition in Colorado State University, a board certified specialist in sports dietetics, a board certified specialist in obesity and weight management, and also a fellow for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So let's all welcome Miss Susan Bowerman. Good morning from the Philippines.
Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Edsel. That's so nice, and thank you for the lovely invitation. I'm really happy to be here. And I was stretching and moving while all of you were doing it too. So I'm sorry that I can't be there to share this in person, but thank you. We are going to talk about healthy breakfast and making it complete. If I could have the first slide. You know, I'm just so happy to be a part of this wellness tour and to be talking about our 3-step healthy breakfast. And, you know, to start, if we can get to the next slide, I wanted to mention something about this was a breakfast habits survey that Herbalife Nutrition sponsored in 2021. And we were interested to find out if breakfast habits were changing as a result of people being home more over the last couple of years. And in fact, you know, it turns out that one of the things that we found out that was almost 50% of the people who were surveyed said that they were starting to eat breakfast more often. And part of the reason was that they found that they had a little bit more time. I think all of us found some extra time being home a little bit more. And they wanted to make a positive lifestyle and felt that this was really a way to improve their health and well-being. And as part of that survey, one of the other things we did was ask Gen Zs and millennials a little bit about breakfast. And it turns out that the result from that portion of the survey told us that a little bit over half of them had started eating a healthier breakfast as a result of the pandemic, which is significantly more than the average over all age groups. And part of this was that, you know, they were drinking more water, they were adding more fruits and vegetables to their breakfast, which of course as a dietitian makes me happy, and eating a nutritionally balanced breakfast. But we also know that there's some challenges, and if you look at the panel on the right, that these are typical things that we hear. You know, I don't have breakfast foods available to me, or it isn't really important, or it's expensive and it takes time. So we're going to address some of these issues this morning, and if we can have the next slide. This was also some information that we got from the survey, which was, you know, as people were starting to consume breakfast more often, what did they see as a result? Well, we talked a bit about energy, right? You all feel energized from being active, but we know that eating the right breakfast in the morning can help to give an energy lift, and this is something they reported back to us. Feeling more focused at work and at school, and that's of course so important for us. And that's one of the things we'll talk about, is how important it is to start your day with this complete, because those are factors. If it was just fast and it just needed to taste good, it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's going to be a nutritious meal. So this is great to just kind of give us a setting for what we see about the breakfast habits in your region. And I want to go to the next slide and just talk a little bit about why breakfast is important really for everybody at any age. And, you know, everybody has different nutritional needs at different ages. But we know certainly for those of you who have kids or teenagers at home that they're still growing and they have high nutrient needs. And then as people transition from, let's say, school and college and then going into the workforce, they're very busy, but they're also often very active. But their diets may not be that balanced. And so breakfast really gives them an opportunity, if it's the right breakfast, to get their day started right, to get the nutrition that they need. And then as adults get older, what happens is their nutrient needs really don't change. You know, your nutritional needs of the vitamins, the minerals, the proteins, and so forth don't really shift, but your calorie needs drop. And so it means that you have to pack more nutrition into the calories that you consume, and that's very, very important. Moving on to the next slide is talking about what is your goal. And different people have different goals in their life. If you ask them what are your health and fitness goals, some people who want to lose weight, this is where breakfast can really help them, is because if we can provide a nutritious, nutrient-dense meal, nutrient-dense meaning you have a lot of nutrition for the calories you're consuming, it can help to keep you full and satisfied, so it can help you avoid unhealthy snacking, for example. For what we call our health and wellness goal, people who simply just want to stay healthy and eat well, the right breakfast can help them meet their nutritional needs. Pardon me. That's what happens when I talk too much. And then we have the fit and active. You just went through an exercise with a very fit and active person, and so being able to fuel your activity to build and maintain your muscle mass is very important. So regardless of your goal, breakfast is important. And one of the things that we know is that people who eat breakfast regularly are people who tend to maintain their healthy weight over time. That's been shown through studies. So it's super, super important. Why? If we go to the next slide, we talk about the importance of breakfast because it can nourish you, it can help hydrate you, and it can help energize you. And I know you've all heard the term, breakfast means breaking the fast, but when you get up in the morning, you've been without fuel since the night before. And so getting those nutrients, getting that fluid in right in the first of the morning is really what you need to get your body started. Glucose is it's a sugar that is circulating in your bloodstream, and it's what your body uses for energy. And when you have been fasting overnight, you haven't taken in any fuel, you need to replenish. It's like putting gas in an empty gas tank. So it's so important that you get the right foods, and those would be the good carbohydrates that help to replenish that glucose supply. And then bringing your energy levels up, not just your physical energy, but your mental energy too. Getting that level of alertness up so that you can really start your day. And that's really what a balanced breakfast can do for you. And if we go to the next slide, we can see some even other additional benefits. Healthy metabolism. When you do eat, there's something called the thermic effect of food, which means that when you eat, you actually start to burn more calories because it takes calories to digest. We talked about reducing hunger and rehydrating. Better brain health, you put the right nutrients in, and you put in energizing things like it's like tea that has a little bit of caffeine that can help to improve mental alertness is great. If your meal has plenty of fiber, that's good for digestion. Fatigue, people usually either feel physical or mental fatigue, again, because that blood sugar level is dropping. Your brain actually needs glucose. That's its only source of fuel. And so if you don't provide that, then you can feel kind of mentally not as alert as you'd like to. And of course, you need that carbohydrate to fuel your energy, to fuel your muscles. To maintain lean muscle mass, you need plenty of protein. We're going to talk about that as well. And then giving you energy. Now, let's talk about, in the next slide, talk about how does breakfast really fuel your body and your brain. As I said, carbohydrates are critically important because your brain really cannot use any other fuel. You have different sources of fuel in your diet, primarily fat and carbohydrate, but your brain can't run on fat. Your brain needs carbohydrate. Your muscles prefer carbohydrate. They can use fat. And the proteins that you eat in the morning, as we said, help to build and maintain that lean body mass, which is so important. And then fats are used for sustained activity. If you go on, you do what we call sort of low and slow activity, but you are active for a long period of time, your body relies on the right kinds of fats to do that. Digestive health, as we said, if you get fiber, if you're getting plenty of fluids, those things are very important for digestion. And if you think about it, if you skip breakfast, if you skip a meal, it's very hard to meet your nutrient needs because that means you have to pack everything else into the other 2 meals of the day and maybe a couple of healthy snacks. So the more often that you eat gives you more opportunities to work those healthy foods into the day. So let's talk a little bit on the next slide, a little bit more about metabolism. As I said, when you consume foods in the morning, it does stimulate these biological processes, these processes that are involved in energy production. And that when you eat protein in the morning, that thermic effect of food, those calories that you need in order to metabolize protein, it takes more calories to digest and to metabolize protein than it does fats or carbohydrates. And that's one reason we want to be sure that you get some protein in the morning. And then that tea that we talked about as being part of our three-step breakfast has some antioxidant benefits that are very good for cellular health. And also tea can help to boost that feeling of energy because of the caffeine that it contains. The next slide, we can talk about how breakfast might rehydrate you. You know, when you get up in the morning, you are dehydrated, you've lost water through the night, whether you're aware of it or not. And so you have to replace those fluid needs in the morning. Because if you're mildly dehydrated, it really can affect your mood and it can affect your cognitive function. And we want to feel alert and energized in the morning. I know you all do because you've been active. And I see you've got some wonderful fruit sitting out there, and I know you're going to be enjoying your healthy three-step breakfast pretty soon. But also, if you're going to be active during the day, that your exercise performance, it demands that you be adequately hydrated. That's probably the one thing that can impair your performance first, is not having enough liquids in your body. The next slide talks about how breakfast can help satisfy hunger as well as reduce cravings, and there's some very interesting studies on this. The blood sugar piece I already mentioned, but there has been studies that have shown that if you eat a high-protein breakfast, it can actually help you reduce cravings later in the day for some of those high-fat, high-sugar snack foods that you see there on the slide. So it's really important, again, to get that breakfast in the morning, and it really keeps you on track for the rest of the day. Of course, it's going to help keep you satisfied until your next meal or snack, and it can, as I say, it can help you make better food choices if your hunger is being reduced, because we all know that when we get too hungry, that's when we tend to, seek out those things that we can grab quickly, and they're not always the most nourishing. But if your hunger is satisfied, then you can take some time to make the right choices. So let's move on and talk about why nourishing is so important. Of course, we're providing our body with that nourishment that it needs, the fuel that it needs. But in addition, we want our breakfast to be balanced. We want a balance of protein and fat and carbohydrates because they all have their own functions in the body. And so if you have a very unbalanced breakfast, let's say that's all carbohydrate, if you just have, let's say, fruit and some bread, that's pretty much all carbohydrate. It's not really going to stay with you very long. But if you add some protein to that, it's going to be much more satisfying. And of course, if you choose the right foods, you're going to get those important vitamins and minerals that your body needs for everyday metabolism. You're going to get fiber to support your digestive health. Phytonutrients, as I said, those are those plant compounds that confer a lot of health benefits, and also to support our mental performance as well. Hydration, as I said on the next slide, you are dehydrated in the morning. And that, the needs that you have throughout the day, we generally say it's about 8 ounce glasses, or it would be, in your case, it would be about 2 liters a day, if you think in liters. But most people don't get that. And so if you can start your day with some fluids, if you start with tea, if you start with some aloe, this is a way to get some water into your system, because our aloe is mixed with water, the tea is mixed with water. So that can help to meet your recommended intake for the day. So that's important. And then lastly, the last key piece is being energized in the morning, of course. The carbohydrates, as I said, because the carbs and the fats are going to provide fuel to the body. And then the tea is going to give you a feeling of energy. So when you have this healthy 3-step breakfast, you can do all. You can nourish, you can help to hydrate, and you can help to energize. Now let's talk about some breakfast myths, because I think this is important. One of the ones that we hear often is people will say, well, I really don't, if I eat breakfast, it's just extra calories. And these are people often who are trying to lose weight, and they believe that by skipping breakfast that somehow that will save them calories, because they figure if I'm not eating, that's just calories I'm not consuming. But what we know is that many times when people skip breakfast, they either end up just making up for it the rest of the day by eating more, or worse is they make very poor choices the rest of the day. And they may eat foods that are very high in sugar and high in fat and therefore high in calories. So skipping breakfast is no guarantee to weight loss. So that's the first myth. The second one, that healthy breakfast takes time to prepare. It can, so it depends on what you're making. But as you'll see when we talk about things like making a Formula 1 shake in the morning, which really just takes no time, it's just mixing it up with some liquid. But there's plenty of other breakfasts that can be put together fairly easily. So I've never bought that argument. I think there's many things that can be put together quickly and easily. And as I mentioned, skipping breakfast doesn't help with weight loss. We know that because, as I said, we tend to then just make up for it the rest of the day. There are people who will say that they're not hungry in the morning, and so they feel that they shouldn't eat. I am a strong believer in breakfast, and I do think that for people who don't feel hungry in the morning, I will encourage them to at least eat something first thing in the morning. Or maybe if it is something, let's say like a Formula 1 shake or a small breakfast, maybe it's a little bit of fruit and some yogurt, for example, is maybe have a few bites, kind of spread it out throughout the morning. But I do think that it's very important. I think that some people have just trained themselves to not really feel hungry in the morning, maybe because they ate too much the night before, it could be. So why do people skip breakfast? Well, as I said, no time. That's one of the things that we hear often, and we've already kind of debunked that one. Not liking breakfast foods, to me, makes no difference. You know, there's no rule that says you have to eat breakfast foods in the morning. And so, you know, I don't know why things that are healthy at dinner time shouldn't be healthy in the morning. So if you want to eat leftovers in the morning for breakfast and they're healthy, I don't see any reason not to do that. As we said, saving calories is probably not going to work. And not being hungry, as I said, I think is the best way to get around that is to try to eat as soon as you can. You don't need to eat as soon as you get up in the morning, but I think if you can get something into your system within an hour or so, it really is advisable, even if it's something small, and you can start to get the habit back. Morning workouts, a lot of people say they don't want to eat in the morning because they're going to work out in the morning. But remember that you need that fuel. And so if you are going into a morning workout with an empty gas tank, that could potentially be a problem if you have a hard workout ahead. So it is really important that you get some fuel in your system right away. Even if it's just something small and it's something light, it is important. And then some people are practicing what we call time-restricted feeding. This is a form of intermittent fasting where people generally consume all of their foods within about an 8-hour window. And so they'll say, well, I don't start eating until 12 o'clock noon, and then I have to finish at 8 o'clock at night. So if that's the case, I try to see if they can back that up a little bit, maybe start to have their first meal at 10 so that they can finish at 6 o'clock at night, and then at least they're getting something in their system before it would be lunchtime, would be advisable. Now let's look at a couple of things that people sometimes will have in the morning, and really what is the nutritional value. I don't need to read these to you, but you can see that if you have something like a coffee or an energy drink or a hot chocolate, that number one, I want you to look at the protein lines that are 1 gram, 1 gram, 4 grams. It's just not enough to really get your day started. And you can see that these things also have quite a bit of sugar. If you note that 4 grams of sugar is a teaspoon, you can see that first one you've got 3 teaspoons of sugar, the next one has 5, the other one has almost 4. So it's a lot of sugar, and that gets some sugar into your bloodstream, but not really much nutrition. And so if you look at some typical breakfast foods that are eaten in the Philippines, if we can go to the next slide. Again, I don't need to read these numbers to you, and we can share some of this information if you like, but you look at some of these typical breakfasts, and I want you to look primarily at the calories, but also look at the fats. We've got 21 grams, 12 grams, 13 grams of fat, which is not a small amount. And the protein, the top one isn't too bad, but 6 grams or 10 grams for the calories you're spending. To spend 308 calories on that bakery bread bun and only get 10 grams of protein is really not a very good nutritional value. If you look at the next slide, we have just a few more examples there that, the bowl of champurrado it costs you 330 calories, but you're only buying 8 grams of protein. And so that's a very expensive use of your calories. And I always talk about calories being cash. You know, you think about how you spend your calories, you want to spend them wisely, and you want to get the most nutrition that you can. And we will talk about that in the next slide, which has to do with this concept of nutrient density. So foods that are nutrient dense have a lot of nutrition per bite. So if you think about things like, you know, fish and chicken and tofu and vegetables and beans, these are foods that for each bite you're getting a lot of nutrition relative to the calories. On the flip side, we have what we would call calorie dense foods, and these are things that have a lot of calories per bite. So when you have things that have a lot of fat and a lot of sugar, like fried foods and candies, what's happening is that you're spending a lot of calories, but you're not getting much nutrition. And so we want to really think about nutrient density. And the next slide gives us a good example of that, which is just showing, we can have the next slide, there we go, showing that just a nutrient dense food like a Formula 1 shake, and this is for the powder alone, 90 calories, provides 9 grams of protein and just 3 grams of fat. Whereas you compare it to the breakfast on the right, if you look at the 1,160 calories, it's true you're getting 45 grams of protein, but you know, look at how many calories it's costing you to do that. And it comes along with 32 grams of fat. So that's a very, very calorie dense meal. So in Herbalife, we have a nutrition philosophy around balanced nutrition. We want your day to have a balance of good carbohydrates from fruits and vegetables and whole grains, to have healthy fats from, you know, healthy oils from avocado, from nuts and seeds, those types of foods, rather than from fried foods, and then making sure that you have adequate protein from lean sources. And protein is really important. So the next slide, we talk about why protein is so critical. I mentioned you need it for hunger, but also keeping in mind that most of the structures of your body, your muscles, your skin, your hair, your nails, are all made of protein. So you need to consume enough protein in order to keep those structures healthy. And then you have other proteins in your body, such as hormones and enzymes that are made out of protein, and the cells of your immune system. So you need enough protein in your diet in order to manufacture those. So the next slide, when we talk about why it's so important to have protein at breakfast, we've said this a couple times, it makes meals more satisfying, so you stay fuller longer. And then this idea of reducing unhealthy snacking later in the day, I think, is really, really a critical point, and one I would want you to remember and take home with you. The next slide talks about why carbohydrates are important. You know, carbohydrates have gotten kind of a bad reputation, but they're critical if you eat the right ones. The reason they've gotten a bad reputation is because sugar is carbohydrate, and refined carbohydrates like white bread and white rice are, you know, those are carbs. But we're talking about the good ones. We're talking about fruits and vegetables and whole grains, which really provide not only fuel, but they provide fiber, they provide phytonutrients, and they also provide a lot of vitamins and minerals as well. So carbohydrates are critically important in the diet. And those phytonutrients on the next slide that we talked about, these are compounds that give fruits and vegetables their beautiful colors, in some cases their aromas. And we know, because there's so much research that's been done, that these phytonutrients provide a lot of health benefits to the body as well. So when you consume fruits, vegetables, plant foods in general, you are getting an abundance of these. The next slide talks about the importance of fats, and they are important. You know, years ago, people were on very, very low-fat diets, but you do need some fats, because there are certain vitamins that can only be absorbed in the presence of fat, and so it's vital that you have some fat in the diet. Every cell in your body has a membrane around it, and a part of that membrane is made up of fat, and that fat comes from the fat in your diet, so that's very, very important. And then to support the health of your brain and your nervous system, you need the right types of fats. From the picture you see there, from seeds, from nuts, from olives and olive oil, from avocado, these are foods that are very helpful. And omega-3 fats that you find in fatty fish these can help to support the health of your skin. The next slide talks about fiber. Most of us don't get the recommended, 25 to 30 grams of fiber every day, but it's vital. And because fiber helps not only to keep you full, but it promotes regularity, as most of you know, and it also promotes gut health. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And also can help control cholesterol and blood sugar levels if you eat the right types of fiber from things like fruits and from apples and from oats and so forth. In terms of digestive health, breakfast can go a long way to supporting digestive health, because if you eat those foods that are high fiber, it's going to help with regularity. If you get your fluids in, that's going to help to transport your nutrients. If you use aloe, for example, we know that helps to support digestion and nutrient absorption. And if you eat things like yogurt or other fermented foods in the morning, that can help to provide some healthy probiotics. So putting all of this together, it really comes together into our 3-step breakfast. As you see here is our Herbal Aloe Concentrate, our Formula 1 Nutritional Shake Mix, as well as our Herbal Tea Concentrate. And, so we talk about nourishing. We talked about how important it is to get those nutrients in, and this is where our Formula 1 Shake Mix comes in. We have a number of flavors of Formula 1, and if you can have the next slide, as I mentioned, each serving provides 9 grams of protein, in addition to a multitude of vitamins, including vitamins A and C and E, along with some minerals as well as fiber. 90 calories, as I said, and it has a low glycemic index, which means that it doesn't cause your blood sugar to go up very rapidly when you consume it. If we look at the next slide, it shows you just an example of some of the amounts of vitamins and minerals and other nutrients that are in a serving of Formula 1. As much fiber as you get in a banana, as much calcium as 2 cups of cottage cheese, as much vitamin A as a medium carrot, which is pretty much what you need for the whole day. 9 grams of protein, which is about what you get from 2 eggs. About as much vitamin C as in a tomato, and about as much vitamin E as you get in 3 to 4 avocados, which is kind of amazing. So we're very proud of this product. It's delicious and it is very nutrient dense. The next step, of course, is refresh with our Herbal Aloe Concentrate. And on the next slide, you can see there that the calories are very low, but because it's mixed with water, it helps to support hydration as well as nutrient absorption. And it's also very low in carbohydrate because the calories are so low. And then the last step, of course, is to energize with our Herbal Tea Concentrate. And it comes in a powder. It's very convenient. I think you're going to taste that. It just has 5 calories, but it is a blend of tea as well as some spices from cardamom and lemon peel. And it does help to boost a feeling of energy because of the caffeine. These products are very easy to use and easy to make. To make a Formula 1 shake, it's either mixed with water and ice, although some people will mix it with other liquids. If they want more protein, they might mix it with milk or soy milk. But it's almost, to me, like a blank slate. There's so many other things you can add, such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, coconut, avocado. People go a little bit wild with their shake making because there's so many different ways to do it. Our Herbal Aloe Concentrate, super easy to make. It's a concentrated aloe, which is mixed with water. So just 3 capfuls of water. We say at least 120 milliliters. Obviously, you can use more if you want. And if you like it nice and cold, you can pour it over ice and it's delicious. And then our Herbal Tea Concentrate. What I love about this product is that you can make it hot or cold. It's just a half a teaspoon of a little bit of our powdered tea. And you can mix it, again, with as much water as you want to. If you like it more dilute, you can use more, but it mixes just very easily, either with hot or with cold. But I want to say, too, that although we've talked about the importance of a healthy breakfast, what you do the rest of the day really matters. And so this is so important. As a dietitian, I'm very much in favor of talking about things like Formula 1 and aloe and Herbal Tea Concentrate. But I also know that the other foods that you eat throughout the day matter as well. And so that's the thing, is that healthy breakfast really starts you off, but it's important that you eat balanced meals and balanced snacks in order to stay healthy. So that is really my key message. And the last, as you say, you can see nourish there, and to keep yourself refreshed, and also to keep yourself energized as well. I apologize for the rush. I know I spoke very quickly. It's because I have a call in 3 minutes. So I'm going to take, I think what I'll do, Marie, if there's one question or maybe two I can try to answer before I have to say goodbye, I'd be happy to do that. And again, apologize for going so quickly, but I wanted to get through that material. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Susan. I think Susan can take 1 or 2 questions from the media.
I think Jessica has a question.
Yeah.
Jessica has a question.
Yeah, I think Jessica, can we open the chat? Okay, so I think Jessica has a question. There. Sorry. I'm going around the room.
Hi.
Don't be shy. This is your only channel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry.
we can hear you, Jessica.
Hi, I'm so sorry. You don't have a sound a while ago. Hi, congratulations. I just have a quick question. I'm a person who diagnosed with severe depression, and I have really sensitive stomach. So I think I want to know it for the people who have sensitive stomach like me. Are these products safe for us?
Well, I can't answer individual, questions about your specific case, but in terms of it's just a general question, our products go through an unbelievable amount of safety testing from the time that the ingredients are sourced all the way until they're put into the canister, and something that we're particularly proud of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So in terms of product safety, we are. I'm as I said, I'm kind of blown away sometimes at the number of safety tests that we do. So if you have people who have specific sensitivities, and there are those, if there's a specific ingredient, then of course you would you want to read labels carefully. But that's true for all foods that you would consume. And then look for alternatives, but in general our products go through, as I said, a significant amount of safety testing.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. I do apologize. I did say to the team that as an option, because we did run out of time, if they send your questions to me, I will answer them and I will send them back to the team, and then they can disperse those. They can circulate those to you, and may give you a little bit more time to think about any questions that you want to ask.